With that, as Sam mentioned, we're going to move across to Russ Shepherd from Evolution. He is going to give you some more information relevant to solving your charging problems. So with that, I'll hand across to Russ.
Thanks, Sam. That was a really good preso. Thanks for that. That helps. I'm sure it's going to help a heap of people understand how to charge at home. Good stuff. So that fits really well into what I'm going to talk about now, which is charging in public. And I guess we get this a lot for a lot of panicked customers who bought their car or just about to buy their car, in terms of how they charge in public and what do they need and all this kind of stuff. And hopefully this is going to help those that are in that position at the moment. So just a bit about us, first of all. We too were established in 2015, and it too feels like a long time, if I'm honest, Sam. We feel like the granddaddies of this game, yeah, it's been an interesting journey to say the least. So Evolution formed 2015. It focuses on home charging, product development, cables and adapters and all that kind of stuff, and obviously car conversions to electric drive as well, which has been an interesting journey too. EV Up is, I guess, the adolescent of the group, focusing on charging network and consultancy, and charging software as well. So this is going to be really simple and really quick pack. And I guess the first thing to talk about is that it's actually pretty simple, from our perspective anyway, obviously because we live and breathe it every day. But essentially with electric vehicles and charging public, it's important to research your EV and how you'll charge up. So essentially, as Sam was saying, there's a number of different connectors on your car and all of that kind of stuff, but that isn't going to change. So if you've got a Type 1 or you've got CHAdeMO or you've got Type 2 or what have you, it's not like it's going to, you're going to wake up one morning and someone will be swapped overnight. The important thing is that's a static component to your car. And when you go to a public charging station, that might be different in some regards. That's the only thing you need to consider. The other thing is that obviously 80% of EV owners charge up at home, and typically overnight as well. And if you're lucky enough to have a charger that integrates with your solar, similar to the Zappi or similar to the EO solution, then obviously you can charge from your solar as well. So you're really looking to, and this is particularly relevant to some of the cars like the Kona, where they can do 400 k's range and all this kind of stuff. It's nice to be able to charge on the go, charge in public locations and all of this kind of stuff. But if you're lucky enough to have a charging station at home, that's where you're going to be doing the majority of your charging, because quite simply, you'll charge overnight, you'll leave every day with 100% charge or thereabouts, and that should be sufficient to be able to go about your business. Unless you're doing particularly big Ks, you're going on a road trip, or you've got a really old EV like an IMEV or a first generation Leaf. So yeah, the next step, I guess, really is to download PlugShare or similar. There are other applications are available. I would say PlugShare is the most popular at the moment. PlugShare, if you put in the type of vehicle that you got, it will actually filter out the charges that are relevant to you. That said, there are other options that are available to you with adapters and all of that kind of stuff as well. But that's a really good start to letting you know where you can charge and where you cannot charge. So without any cables and so on and so forth, or sorry, without cables or with cables. The other thing is that this is a really, I guess it's a dummy's guide in terms of it helps you not turn up to a charger that is completely incompatible. And there's plenty of stories of people, driving out to a particular location, being dependent on a particular charger, only to find that it doesn't match their car. And that sounds like a scary proposition, but plenty of people have done it. It's not embarrassing, it's just how it is. We've even had a couple of main dealers come to, I won't mention who they are, have gone to a DC fast charger only to realize that their car can't actually take that type of charge. So it's important to use those filters and do your research and use PlugShare and all those kind of things to make sure that when you turn up to a charging station, it is going to be compatible, or you have got the leads and adapters to make that happen. Obviously, multiple plug types. This is where Sam and I might disagree. We're seeing a heap of, while Type 2 is the kind of the de facto standard, Type 1 is still out there, and we still get a heap of Nissan Leafs coming through our shop. They're coming from Japan. I think from what I can work out, there's been as many Japanese Nissan Leafs that have come into the country as Tesla Model 3s in the last year. And we still sell a heap of Type 1 adapters out to customers. So it doesn't matter what people or what the industry says about Australia. The fact is, these good value Nissan Leafs are coming in from overseas, and and so Type 1 and CHAdeMO is going to be around for a while yet. But that's fine. It's still the same protocol, and there are adapters available to go between each of these. Well, between the AC adapters anyway. DC, not so much, obviously. So this is probably the best bit of advice I can give anyone who's looking to buy an electric car, wants to charge in public, or has already got one, is to essentially live with the car. We kind of deter, it's counterintuitive from a business perspective, but we kind of recommend customers don't go and buy every cable and adapter they can possibly buy ever, either from myself, Sam, or from Tim, because it could well be that, for example, the charges if you live with the car and in your particular locale, you may not need an adapter at all. You may not just need one cable. You may not need anything at all. So it's important to understand, essentially get the car, drive it, and understand what you need in the first instance, and then then obviously go out and invest in the cables that you want. The last thing you want is to buy, several $100s worth of cables, put them in your boot, and essentially never use them. So it's important to understand what that is first. Obviously, there's always a minimum in my opinion, but we would deter you from buying just about everything that you possibly add to your car before you check out. And that falls on to, obviously get the right cable for the places you'll be charging. So typically a universal cable for universal charges is the right thing to be doing. So that differs between obviously cars. So if it's one of the more modern vehicles, so it's obviously always going to be Type 2. So you need a Type 2 to Type 2 cable. If there's a charge point or legacy charge Type 1 charger in your local in your locale, which is still working, then you'll need a Type 2 to Type 1 or Type 1 to Type 2. Sorry, but there's it's important to just do that bit of research before you go out and rely on a particular location. And the other thing is, not all charging points are blatantly obvious. I mean, power is ubiquitous and it's everywhere. And so, how can I say this? I mean, there's obviously power in just about every building. It's not particularly quick, obviously, if you go into a 10 amp or what have you. So it's important to keep that 10 amp portable charger in your boot and not in your garage, because you never know when you're going to need it. And a few years ago, which is pretty interesting, the AVA and the Tesla owners group went out and put a heap of three-phase charging three-phase sockets around the country. And this is the particular this type of product is well worth having a look at to be able to basically convert standard power points into something you can actually charge your car in a reasonable amount of time as well. Obviously, ask for help. Call Tim, call myself, call Sam, and we'll do all we help to give you the advice. We want this to be a positive experience for you. And with that, I'm done. I'll hand over to Tim.
Thanks, Russ. Fantastic. Genuine expertise on display yet again. Really fantastic group of presenters today.